Greetings, everyone. We are so pleased that you can listen in. We believe that these two heartfelt stories will shed light on the devastation and turmoil that Ukrainian youth are facing right now. By way of backdrop, my brother Quinn and I co-founded the Chicago Ukraine Kinship Initiative, or KUKI. We grew up in Ukrainian village, Chicago, and feel a real bond with Ukrainian people. Many live in our neighborhood. We walk by the beautiful Ukrainian churches regularly, and there are many great Ukrainian restaurants in the area. Like many people around the world, we feel a sense of despair at what is happening with the Russian invasion, as well as the plight of Ukrainian people. Inspired by our neighborhood, the protest marches in our area, and most importantly, the courage of Ukrainian nationals, we created Kuki to help Ukrainian refugees better transition to life in the U.S. Quinn, can you touch a little bit more on Kuki, please?
Yeah, Quinn here. Welcome everyone. So with Kuki, we're essentially just trying to establish a connection with Ukrainian kids who have gone through very difficult times in leaving their home. So for instance, we're establishing group chats with these kids around the same age as us. We're gonna also play together and organize soccer games. We can connect with pizza and other holiday parties. We'll attend sporting and other fun events together. We will pray and protest together. So bottom line, we just want to be a positive and kind force and help these kids assimilate US culture. We want to be their new friends.
Okay, let's get to the marquee event. Currently, there have been 4.5 million Ukrainian refugee children that have been displaced around the world due to the Russian invasion. This is about half the country's population of children. We want to introduce you to two courageous young women who want to share their stories and strengthen the cause. Welcome to Dasha and Maria, both who are 17 years old, yet hail from different parts of Ukraine.
You both have very different experiences as it relates to the invasion. Maria, it seems like you were in a more stable situation in your town, which is located 300 kilometers from Kiev.
Yes, the situation in my town is pretty stable. There were a couple of rocket attacks, but they weren't so severe as in Kiev or Kharkiv, for instance. So, on the first days of the war, the military warehouse in the suburb of Ukraine was hit by bombs. Also, the bombs hit our airport, which was located in village Kavishivka near our town, and it resulted in deaths of 9 people, both soldiers and civilians. But still, it wasn't so severe as in Kiev, for instance. People in our town still hear the air raid sirens all the time, but they feel they don't feel in danger as well as in Kiev, for example. And it's mostly owing to our air defense systems and to our army as well. However, my parents decided that we leave the Ukraine. Unfortunately, my dad and my brother weren't able to leave Ukraine, so they stayed in Vinnytsia, while my mom, my grandma, the girlfriend of my brother, and I are currently staying in Slovakia.
Yeah. I mean, not to state the obvious, but it must be difficult to process, like not having your brother and father under the same roof as you.
Yeah, it breaks my heart just to realize that my brother and my father are right now not by my side, and that I don't know what will happen tomorrow, and that I don't know when I will be able to see my brother and my father, and if I will ever be able to. So even though Vinica is pretty safe now, still, as I have previously said, we don't know what will happen tomorrow. And it's just hard to imagine that your loved ones are in the country which is being invaded and where hundreds of people are getting killed and just where terrific things happen.
Yeah. Thank you, Maria. Dasha, in contrast, you seem to witness the war right outside of your window. Can you elaborate on that experience, please?
Yes, of course. So basically, me and my parents, we were living in such district of Kiev, near those small towns as Gostomel and Bucha, where all of the military airports and bases were located. and so the aim of all of the Russians was to destroy them. So when the war began on the 24th of February, we heard all those scary explosions, and all of those Ukrainian and Russian planes were just flying above our house, above our district. And that was the most terrifying days of my life, because I remember all of that sounds and they're still with me at night.
Wow, that's pretty shocking to hear. So can you elaborate specifically on when your family decided to evacuate? Like, was it the next day or?
Yeah, so on 25th of February, we woke up at 5 a.m. because of really huge explosion near our house. And basically we saw the fire and the sounds. And me and my parents, we just decided to pack all of our clothes and everything that we had. We made that just 15 minutes.
Mhm.
We packed everything, we sit in our car and just started to drive. And we were driving for the whole day until we came to the Carpathians, just like a small town in Carpathians where we stayed in the hotel. We knew that hotel because we were guests of that hotel before, and we thought that we will wait there for a couple of days until the war finished, but unfortunately no.
Wow, that's also shocking. So then your family ultimately decided to make your way to the Slovakian border. Can you describe what you went through at the border?
Yeah, so at first in Carpathians we spent 2 nights, and during those days we also heard those sirens and also some explosions near our town. And we decided not to stay in such dangerous situation and to go to Slovakia because we have relatives here. So when we moved to the border, we saw the very huge line, and basically we were standing 58 hours. We were waiting just to cross the border between Ukraine and Slovakia. And on that border we slept, so 2 nights we slept in our car, and that was really terrifying. And in those lines there were a lot of people from Ukraine, many women and many children. No men, because men between the age of 18 and 60 are not able to cross the border. Fortunately, my dad is 65, so we were able to cross the border. Our whole family is in Slovakia. And so we heard really terrifying stories on the border about people and women who drove to Poland border at first and stayed there for 3 nights, and then went to the border with Slovakia and stayed there for 3 more nights. So basically, some people spent 7 days a week just to cross the border of Ukraine.
Okay. Dasha and Maria, first off, let me just say your stories were truly touching and they'll be an inspiration to many. So let's fast forward to what's happening right now. We're seeing many headlines about the hardships of living in war-torn cities like Kiev. For instance, how tough it is to get the simple basics to survive. Given that background, Dasha, do you want to touch on your sister's situation in Kiev now?
Yeah, so my sister nowadays is in Kiev. She's not able to cross the border of Ukraine because she doesn't want to leave her husband alone. And her husband is he's not 60, he's younger than 60 years old. And so nowadays she says that it's lack of food in Kiev, and it's really hard and complicated to buy meat, eggs, and other products just for living. And she says that all of the prices for the food that is in Kiev are extremely high, and the lines for that food is also extremely huge. And basically she said that just people in villages who have their own cows and chickens nowadays are able to live normal lives, because there is really lack of food in Kiev. But fortunately, for last 2 days, the situation is in Kiev is becoming better because, as our government says, the Russian soldiers are getting off the Kiev and the towns near Kiev. And so that is why some restaurants and some shops are just opening nowadays. And so people are able to start somehow a normal life one more time.
Thank you. Dasha, can you please talk about your mom's friend who's a home builder?
Yes, of course. My mom has a friend who was living in Irpin. That's also a small town near Kiev where military base was. And so that man says that all of the town is just destroyed. There is no houses left in the town. And he told us that the house that he was building for his whole life, that is basically his soul and his heart, is just destroyed. And he just cried on the phone while talking with my mom because he just had no idea what to do, because nowadays he's in Lviv and he does not have home anymore.
Even in your new village, there are tough things to cope with, like school, correct? Dasha, can you tell me about your experiences with online classes in university?
Yeah, so basically nowadays we are continuing to study, and every day we have some classes, some lectures, some practical works. And so sometimes I can just sit on them and study and think about nothing, but more of time when I start to study new things, when I start to read, to write something that I need for university, I start just to remember my previous life, my home, my Kiev, my friends, my university, and I usually start to cry. So for me, it's just not suitable just to study because I'm starting to remember all those things. And the only thing that really distracts me nowadays is basically Bratislava, because in the evening I can go to the center and just see beautiful houses, see beautiful river Dunai, and just think about nothing. Only that just helps me nowadays.
Thank you. And Maria, you also have a tough choice to make of whether you want to stay in Slovakia until September, because this is ultimately where you're going to be going to university.
Yeah, as the war happened, I had to go to Slovakia much earlier than I planned. I had to miss to just like not lose my friends. Actually, I still hope I have an opportunity to see them again, but I really miss them a lot. And actually, I really want to turn back to Ukraine before the beginning of my studies. Or even if I won't, I just hope that one day I will turn back to a peaceful and free Ukraine, and just to celebrate the win, to see my friends once again, and just to feel happy and safe on my own homeland, and just be with all members of my family by my side.
And on top of this, your grandma is also sick and needs treatment in a hospital which isn't located near you.
Yeah. So she is seriously ill, and unfortunately, there wasn't any hospitals in the place of living we were in. Actually, we were provided with. So we spent ages just running from one town to another, looking for a doctor who could give us a referral to a specialist. And we really felt lost because there wasn't much we could do. We didn't know how the Slovakian hospitals work because they are much different from the Ukrainians one. And we just felt lost because we didn't know who to address.
Mhm.
But fortunately for us, there were kind-hearted people who helped us out. And now my granny is given this treatment on time and for free.
Oh. I know this is a very difficult time for both of you, but Dasha, what is your hope for the intermediate future?
So basically, the biggest hope is that this war will end and that Ukraine will win because there is no other way. Because Ukrainians are the bravest nation in the whole world, I think. And I really want my previous life back. I really want to see all of my relatives in Kiev. Me and my parents were just dreaming of celebrating the victory in our Kiev with all of our relatives and my brother and my sisters and with my friends. And I just really want to go to my university and to study offline just to see everyone. And I really want everyone to realize that Ukraine just is the great country and maybe the best in the world.
Thank you. And Maria, what's your hope?
It's yeah, I hope as well so that we win. It's the same hope I think every Ukrainian has right now. And if we win, of course, I hope that I will come back to Ukraine, to a peaceful and independent country where people live freely, have their freedoms, have their choices, have rights to live peacefully, and actually make everything to for our Ukraine to become the country of our dreams. Um, with no conflicts, with no invasions, with no people who want to kill us, and just with democracy and millions of people living just peacefully and happily there.
Thank you. Is there anything else you would like our viewers to know?
Ukrainians are the most friendly people all over the world because while we were standing in the line to cross the border of Ukraine, just all the Ukrainians from the Uzhhorod, that's the town that's on the border on Ukraine and Slovakia, they were providing us food and drinks and tea and coffee, even soup and even warm dinner. We had everything we needed for like normal life in the car. We were not hungry. We had everything to live. And to be honest, I can't imagine crossing the border without them because they were helping us on every step of our like life in that border. And also Slovak people, they're really generous and they're really kind for Ukrainians because they also provided food for us. That's actually really important when you didn't know that you would stay in the line for 3 days and we had just apples and bananas with us. And they all gave us food and they all gave us water and they just gave their attention to us and they talked to us. They said that everything will be okay, don't worry, you will return, and so on. And the only thing I really want to people from Russia to realize that Ukraine is not bombing itself. That everything that is happened nowadays is just because of Russian government. And those propaganda which is just broadcasted every day on Russians TVs is not normal. For example, I do have relatives from Russia who really believe in those lies and in those scary things from those TVs. I just want them to know that everything that we are experiencing nowadays is really scary and terrifying. And I want it all to stop. I want my normal life back. I want everything back. And I want my future, my dreams come true. Because everyone from Ukraine have some dreams, some plans, but that war just stopped and crashed everything. So I want Russians just to wake up, to open their eyes and to realize the real situation in Ukraine and in the world.
Thank you. And Maria?
Yeah, I agree with Dasha. Probably I'm not worthy of telling my story because I know that there are hundreds of teenagers who have gone through tougher stuff. I'm thankful to God that I'm lucky enough to be safe, away from danger, with my mom and my grandma by my side, because I know that a lot of teenagers are right now sitting in bomb shelters with no food, with no water, with no connection to the outside, and no possibility to leave. And also, some teenagers may be traumatized or even disabled for the rest of their lives, and some are even dead. So, even though a lot of terrifying things happen, I know for sure that this war has ruined the future of all teenagers and of all people, I think, because we all had our dreams, our plans for life. Someone wanted to study in Ukraine, someone wanted to leave to work just to live peacefully, and now it's all gone and ruined because of desires of cruel people. So I want to tell that we are not worthy of such fate, and that Ukrainian people and innocent kids and children and just women did nothing to Russia, and this should be all stopped, because it's just not the war, it's the genocide of Ukrainian people. And I want to encourage people to help as much as they can, and under any circumstances not to believe the Russian propaganda and their attempts to cover up their violent and bloody actions.
On that note, thank you so much, Dasha Maria, for taking the time to participate in this interview. You are both a testament to the bravery that the Ukraine nation is displaying throughout the world. On behalf of all the students of Kuki, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts and stand united in your resistance. Your stories will serve as inspiration for us all and continue to strengthen the cause. We would love to roll out the red carpet for you two if you can ever make it to Chicago. After all, Chicago is the city of broad shoulders.